Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Del Barzi. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey. And today I have the very great pleasure of welcoming Prisca Benson out of New Jersey, USA. Prisca is a nurse. She's a money coach. She's an entrepreneur. She's the owner of the business Our Green Life. She's been featured in Business Insider, and she says that she wants to make professional women, particularly nurses, feel less anxious and more in control of their money. So, welcome, Prisca.
Thanks for having me, Dale.
My pleasure. So let's start off with my $1 million question. Why did you become a nurse?
So this actually is kind of a long-winded answer, but I think in general, I had a passion for science and a passion for helping people. And then my mom kind of like introduced different kind of ideas while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And she was like, why not nursing? And I'm like, huh? I'm Haitian. Why not? Like that's kind of what we do. So so I went and it married very much the two things that I felt like I loved the most, which is science and helping people. Any career that I had entertained before that had one or the other or both in it.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So, were there any other nurses in your family, friends, anything like that?
There's nurses everywhere in my family. Everywhere in my family, everywhere in my community. Haitians especially, like we're very rooted in the healthcare
Yes.
industry. And
Yes.
so especially because I think like my mom, she was a CNA, now she works as a phlebotomist, and like it's like just leveling up the kids, you know? And
Yes.
so there's a lot
Yes.
of nurses in my family, like in Boston, Florida, wherever you go. So there's a lot of influence, and it makes it a smoother transition as well because like you have stuff to talk about.
Yes. Yes. So, what kind of advice did they give you when you said, "No,
So
I want to do it"?
no, yeah, it wasn't that I had gotten advice from them per se. It just what because my mom was like my biggest support. So and she was not a nurse, but she was deep in healthcare, and she knew a lot of people in healthcare. So it wasn't I think she motivated me to like succeed through nursing. She's always been
Mhm.
my biggest advocate.
Single mom.
Yep.
Yeah. But tell me, so you have all these family members who are nurses, and your mom is in healthcare, and everybody's rooting for Prisca.
Yeah.
What challenged you?
Well, my first nursing job, well, first off, like, let me dial back. When I was graduating nursing school souped my head up, right? It was like, before you even leave school, you're gonna have a job, and then all this stuff, like you're gonna think, not that did not happen. And then when I graduated, I'm like, okay, now I was the first person to get my license, okay? Because I'm like, we're doing
Let's
this.
move this.
I go get my license, we apply for jobs, crickets, okay? Crickets. I was like, what is going on? My school told me that I was going to get a job before I even graduated. So it got to the point of even like I'd applied at so many hospitals. I applied at things. So I'm like trying to work my way down like my choices, right? Hospital, then
Hmm.
like acute rehab. Now I'm like subacute. I'm like, oh God, God, don't let this happen to me. Because I did not want that for myself. But then there was an open house at a community hospital that I did not want to work in at all. And of course, that's where I get a job. Okay. So it's okay. You're going to do what you got to do. Except this place had where you would get 8 patients regular. Like that's your norm is 8 patients.
Hmm.
And the day I got off orientation, they gave me 9. I cried. And I literally did not think I was going to make it out of there. Not just that day, for the next 6 months, it was torture. So much so that 6 months, I was like, I'm out of here. I got to go. Like, I'm going to die. Like, I was so exhausted. It
Hmm.
was so much. And then what helped me with that was a mentor. Her name is Sandra. I'll never forget. And she said, you're too young to like quit now. You don't have enough experience. She's like, go per diem. And that changed the trajectory of my career completely. I don't know where I would have wound up without that advice.
Mm.
Because I did stay on per diem. I did wind up getting experience, and I started experiencing other parts of nursing because now I have more than a year under my belt. And so I started
Hmm.
like learning all the things. And so because of that, I've done so much in nursing. And I'm only like, well, I graduated in 2011. That makes me 14 years in.
14.
I think I have
Yeah.
the career of like a 20, like 2 decades in nurse.
You
So
know,
yeah,
that's the good and the bad thing about nursing too.
yep, you could do whatever. You could do whatever. That's like the best thing, I think.
So, having done all of this, or gathered all this experience, where did you land as a
So
specialty?
yes. So right now I'm a lung cancer nurse navigator. Though
Okay.
technically my personal like like specialty is nurse navigating. Like I just love the patient experience, optimizing the patient experience, just making things better, finding ways to make healthcare more efficient for the
Mm-hmm.
consumer. So that's
Mm-hmm.
really what I love to do. So I'm not, it's, I before this I did neuro nurse navigation, loved it too. It just the where I switched from bedside to doing this is first recognizing that I had a passion for educating.
Mm.
I love educating the new nurses or even the student nurses that come in. I was never the kind of person that would turn them away. I'm like, come on, my little sheep, let's go, my little birdies, let's go. I loved it. And then even with my patients, like I remember one thing that stuck in my mind that started to transition in my mind about leaving bedside is a patient had this all these cardiac meds and had no clue what any of them were for. I was like, I was so like appalled and just like so scared for him. And I sat down, despite it being a busy shift, and I'm like writing down all the meds and their indications and what
And
they're
what
for.
the,
And I was like, I want to do more of that. Like I want for my patients, people come in
yeah,
contact with me to go in the hospital and they know exactly what their meds are for. They know exactly what their conditions are, you know? So that's what led me to the more patient support, patient education side.
yeah. And you know what? We need more of that. We really do. Because as you said, there's so many people who have no idea what they're taking, why they're taking
Mhm.
it, what should make them worry.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. So you've been around nursing, and nursing is healthcare and in so many different areas. What do you think you want to see change?
Um, there's a couple things, but I think one of the things I want to see the most change with is underestimating like what nurses have the ability to do.
Hmm.
I think that like whenever I hear somebody say, "Ugh, I don't want to be a nurse," I'm like, "Oh, child, you don't know the half of it."
Half of it.
Like the options are endless. Like and even we were discussing today at work, where one of the staff members, she was like, "Oh, this, I don't know what I could do next with my career." I'm like, nurses never have that question. You could do whatever, you could do almost whatever you want.
It's a
So
license to do anything.
yeah. And so I think that people see nursing in one light. And I think that this is also a consequence of schools. Nursing school basically teaches you to be a hospital RN, you know? But there's so many options, so many things that this is like school is just a stepping stone to that I think it's sad when people just brush it off as an option. So I just want people to know there's a whole lot of there you could do. Like just Google it, like a real Google, not Google at a hospital. This nursing jobs and then I don't know, remote
Anyway,
nursing jobs, unique. Put a whole but words in there and
everything.
see what we can do.
Pretend you're talking to AI and
That's
prompt
right.
it.
That's right.
But I have to tell you, Prisca, you just very eloquently articulated one of the core reasons for me doing this channel. Because really, you mentioned it even in talking about how narrow the view is
Hmm.
of what nurses or who nurses are. When you tell someone you're a nurse, and the first question is, well, what hospital do you work in?
Yep.
And God forbid you say you don't work in a hospital, then which nursing home? No, I don't work in a nursing home either. Well, are you a nurse? And I don't blame them because that is what
Yes.
is portrayed. And
Hmm.
I think that in some level, we also have to take some responsibility for that because we have not
Hmm.
traditionally shown up and shown out. So,
Yes.
it's
Agreed.
their fault too.
Yes.
Anyway, now you are in the financial space as well.
Hmm.
You're talking money.
Yes.
Um, what made you, because there's so many businesses out there that you could do, what made you
Hmm.
choose that particular lane?
So, well, first it started off. like I had a personal finance and healthcare blog. The
Mm.
reason I went into personal finance is because I knew nothing about it pretty much when I graduated nursing school. I
Mhm.
made a bunch of money mistakes, things that like I literally the first thing I did was buy a car. That's like hello, first generation immigrant child. Hello, that's
Mhm.
like what
Mhm.
we made it, okay? Because I bought a car, you know.
Mhm.
And so like and I ran up debt and I really didn't have any like line of thought of like a future for my money at all. Like I didn't have that vision. You know, I think especially as a children of immigrant, like we are seeing like our parents do things to survive, right? And so there's not really a long-term vision. It's like, listen, we're making it day by day. And of
Mhm.
course, as the years, as we solidify ourselves in this country, then yes, there starts to be a vision. But for me, that vision is going to look completely different, which I was not aware, you know, because of the fact that I was born here and I have all the opportunities and I get to start at a young age.
Mhm.
And so I
Mhm.
didn't have that information there. And then so it was at first like kind of shift was when I got married and my husband, who's like African American, so his family's been
Mhm.
here, didn't have any debt. And I was like, okay, like debt was a regular where I came from, you know. It was like, oh, you could do stuff with your paychecks. That's interesting. Let's talk about this. And then so we started being more intentional with money and like really opening our eyes to like at least the shorter term vision of like being able to go vacations without racking up debt, you know, having the
Yeah.
money actually set aside for it. And then the next step was in 2018, I was like, I don't really feel rich the way people portray nurses to be rich, especially in this area.
Yeah.
So I'm like looking at my net worth. I'm like, that don't look like that. You know, that don't look like that don't look right. So I started listening to personal finance podcasts, and I realized that there was more intentionality I could build, but especially when it came to investing, because I was kind of just doing what they say. Like nobody tells you to have that
No.
vision, right? Like to aim for something. So I just was basically investing enough to do a match or just to do something. And then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, like there's such thing as maxing out your retirement account. Like I've never heard that concept before. There's such thing as like, hey, having a retirement number, not a
Number.
retirement
A
age.
number.
Yes. And I was like, what a concept. Let's make this happen, you know? And then as I was learning these money concepts, and I'm like, you know, now when money topics come up in the office, I'm engaging, like, because I know what I'm talking about now, you know? So I'm sitting there talking. I realized, oh, I'm not the only person who didn't know this. Like, oh, okay. So that's how I started getting into money coaching because I found a simple way to make money work. And like, so in the first 7 years of my career, I only had about 40K in my retirement savings,
Mhm.
which don't, when I say only, I don't want to judge anybody who's only who has that. Okay. This is
Mhm.
just in comparison to what I'm about to tell you.
Towards you. Mhm.
So then once I learned and was more intentional, was working on, you know, managing my expenses, getting rid of unnecessary debt and investing intentionally from 2018 to now, that is now over $400,000.
Right.
And so, and it's not through anything special. I didn't hit the lotto. I didn't buy real estate. I didn't do anything that entertaining. I was just literally like, make a plan, stick to it. Make a
Stick to
plan,
it.
stick to it. Consistency, you know? And the simplicity of it, I was drawn to it, which is what led to me starting my business.
You said something earlier that we don't people see us as having money, but we
Yep.
don't really have the kind. Again, I think our situation contributes to us not having money. And
Yep.
the reason I say that is we may earn money, and depending on where you are, and in what specialty you may earn more than another. But the potential for earning if I can work 365 days a year if I want to.
Yep.
And that actually means that I can spend indiscriminately
Yep.
if
Yep.
I want to, because you know what? I just do an extra shift.
That's it.
It doesn't work like that.
That's a fascinating way of thinking. I actually didn't make that connection before, but you're absolutely right. Like
Mhm.
anytime, especially nurses, like it's like, oh, if I want
Yeah,
to do something, I'll just work more, you
yeah,
know. But your sanity comes into play too. We need to worry
yes,
about that.
yes,
We need to worry
yes.
about your family life. We need to worry about your health, honey.
And based on that, we overextend ourselves. And
Yes.
as you say, we don't make a plan because we think the plan is there. The plan is I'll work more.
Yep. And you're not always going to want to do that.
We did not
So that's
go.
why like getting your money
Yeah.
together gives you the option.
Yes. Exactly, exactly. So I'm going to make sure that we're going to make sure that we put some information for you in the description box because I am on your page that we need to do better. There are way too many nurses who end up poor.
Yes. And it's so sad,
It's sad.
like we're caring for society and we forget to kind of care for ourselves. And sometimes the way we think we're caring for ourselves is to buy the thing because we're not actually thinking about like caring for ourselves. It's like the easy answer, that dopamine hit, you know?
Yes,
But if we want
yes,
long lasting peace and calm, like that's one thing too, I think that added to the fact that I wanted to start this business. The peace of mind that handling my money has gotten me is unmatched, honestly. And I'm a, this is not like to take away from faith-based, like all that,
yeah.
like that matters too. But there's nothing like when crap hits the fan and like,
You can
hey, I
handle
got
it.
the money to do it.
You can handle it. Yes, yes,
Like you don't
yes.
have to think too hard. So one of the examples I shared that kind of resonated with some people, I was sharing how like I live in a condo.
Mhm.
And when I moved in 2015, they said they're gonna fix the elevators, and that would cost us money. Okay, and year after year, we're waiting for this elevator thing to come, year after year, and then finally, it's like, hey, you got 2 months, like figure it out, you know. And the options were to pay it monthly, but it would have cost almost 4,000, I think more than $4,000 more if we did the payment plan versus paying like $9,000 outright. And guess who got to have $9,000? The person who got their money together. No
Yeah.
option. And we didn't have to like stress about it. It didn't have to be like a loaded conversation. It was literally like, okay, so we have
Yeah.
this option and we have
Mhm.
this option. Which one do we want to do? Such a calm, I just love it. There's so many things outside of our control, you know?
Yes.
Like we see what's going on out there. That's outside of our control. And like inflation hitting and not being pressed about cost
Yeah.
increases, you know? It's not to say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't have to be a stressful thing. You can still hate
Yeah. You
it.
can hate it, but you have the ability to work with it.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
I like to me, being able to have that control over your one's peace of mind is I don't even like you, it's unmatched.
Yeah. One of the things I think that we do too, I've seen it and I'm not in the money space, so to
Mhm.
speak, but I have noticed that because we work the way we work, because we work holidays, because we work weekends, because
Mhm.
we work a lot of times that takes us away from family,
Mhm.
we tend to spend money indiscriminately on family
Yep.
um, to make up.
Yes.
It doesn't.
No.
It
Your
doesn't.
presence is more important. And the
Yeah.
other thing too is the options it gives even in your career to have your money together. So before I went into nurse navigation, I was a nurse in the city.
Mhm.
Baby, the money, okay? Unreal.
Yeah.
Even now when I look at it, I'm like, wow, what a wow, you know? And
Yeah.
I chose because I was like, it was getting too stressful to go into the city.
Too
The traffic
much.
was horrendous.
Hmm.
I lived like 15 minutes away from my job, but it would take me half an hour, 45 minutes to get to work. I was like, this is crazy. Like I'm going to work at 7 a.m. Who's out here? Like, why is this even happening? And also too, I did want to change my trajectory. So I went and took a job that was lower paying because I could afford it.
Hmm.
I took a job that was more fulfilling because I could afford it. So
Hmm.
it's not just, there's so many ways that managing your money instead of hiding from it, because some people hide from it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's because we don't ever have the money conversation at an
Yes.
appropriate time.
Yes. Yes. So as a result, like I just want people to know like that doesn't have to be your money story. That doesn't have to be your life story, that you have to feel broke all the time, that you have to struggle to make money, that you have to struggle to save, that you have to be piling on debt, you're gonna die with debt. That doesn't have to be your story. We can make a difference if you so choose. You have to make the
But
choice.
but I'm glad you said if you so choose,
Hmm.
because there are many people who have a scarcity mindset
Hmm.
and don't know that they have a scarcity
Yeah.
mindset and don't understand that. until they change it here, they're not going to change it here.
That's a fact. And that's the kind of the hardest part of my job is that like, to be able to show someone that you have the power to do this. I have to convince you of that, like this is
Yes,
possible for you,
yes,
and
yes.
so, and I don't want to say convince in a way like, but I believe it. I believe
Hmm.
it, but you
Yeah,
have to believe it as
you
well.
have to believe it. Yes, yes. And those same people will do very difficult things in other arenas, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
Yes.
Especially women. We do hard things all the time. All the time. Like this is just another thing that you could just master and then you'll be over. It'd be like a skill. It's a
Yeah, but you know
skill.
what? But you know what, Prisca, I think a lot of that comes from a lot of it comes from childhood
Of
and the
course.
perception and the way people around us speak about money.
Hmm.
Um, it's evil. It's,
Yes.
and so you absorb that. And it's very hard well, you know better than I do how hard it is for people to get rid of
Yeah,
it.
I even was uncomfortable when I started my business talking about growing wealth. Like, I'm like, how are people going to perceive me? Are they going to think that I'm greedy? Like, people in my circle. I wasn't caring about the internet, but I'm like, the people, like, even my family, like, what are they going to think of me telling people to build wealth?
Yeah.
Does that, and I didn't think I was a bad person, but what would they think of me?
Hmm.
So, why else would I have that origin story? Is because of the fact that growing up, I had to have heard things that like fed into that story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like everybody has their money story. And I think it's the first step, if you find that you think that this is impossible for you, is to acknowledge that, like figure that out. Journal through that, think through that, talk to people. Like why for the people who don't have that mindset, why do you think you could do it? Like and the thing I always did, like even in my nursing career, like I went to school and school was hard. I've cried, like I made it out by the skin of my teeth sometimes. But the one thing that always kept me motivated was what's so special about you that could do it that I can't do it? Like I'm no more special than you, you're no more special than me.
Yeah.
So if you can do
Yeah.
it, I can figure out my way may be different. Our
Yeah.
paths are not all going to be the same.
Hmm.
So it may be easier for me to do what I did than for someone I have no
Yeah.
children. Somebody
Hmm.
it'll be different, but it can be done.
It can be done. It can be done. It can be done. You've got to find your path.
Yep.
So I'm listening to you. You're so passionate about this. I love it. I really do love it. Oh, what is your big vision? Your company is Our Green Life, and you
Mhm.
focus on professional women, particularly nurses. What's your big vision for this?
So to create more calm, I think that's my ultimate goal. I think even with healthcare being, my primary
Mm,
career, like to be able to help a patient feel calm, even in their worst moments. I work as in lung cancer space. People hear
mm,
the word cancer, it don't matter what it is. They may have never have the diagnosis. The fact that it could be associated, they step in a building, it freaks them out. So to be able to be a presence, to be like, listen, we've got you. We're going to support you, even if it is bad. We've experienced it. We have experience in this, and we could take care of it. It's the same way I feel like with the money space. It's just we've got this. You know, even things always feel worse majority of the time when I go over people's money than they actually are. Because when you
yeah.
don't look at it, oh,
Yes.
the anxiety builds up and it just feels so horrible. And then I'm like, hey, you have an extra $500. Huh? How is that even possible? Like I could bear, like I'm having trouble saving money. Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I know. I know. And that's one of the things, as you mentioned, like cancer, that people are reluctant to face. The
Yep.
money problems, they have, yeah, yeah. They'd
Yes.
rather just ignore it until they can't ignore it anymore.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
but that's the reality. And
Hmm.
that's coming from not facing it until you're like way over your head.
Yeah. And sometimes there's a lack of awareness. Like I just met with
Yeah.
a client the other day and she was like, she saw the minimum payment. She was like, oh, I didn't know that was an option and started choosing that. And then it's like, didn't realize there were consequences with it. I was like, oh, yeah, now I have debt. Like, yes. And now we know, and now we learn. And that's another thing I'd like to share with people too is that, this isn't like not being good with your money is not a moral failure and it's not
No.
a life sentence. Like you can change it. And in fact, I think the fact that I did do all the mistakes, I bought the car, I was in debt and stuff. I think that even makes me more relatable to people. Like I didn't have a fancy money story. Like
Hmm.
I created this,
Hmm.
with the help of the people around me. But so that means everybody else has that ability. You don't have to be born into wealth to build your wealth.
No, no, no. And you talk about the calmness and whatever, but I think I'm thinking about this now, and I'm thinking that, just as how we can good experiences can release those endorphins and whatever. And
Yes.
when you look at your money growing,
Yes.
you've
Yes. And the thing
heard
is,
that happy
especially when
place.
it builds on each other too. Like all your efforts, you start seeing build
Hmm.
on each other. A lot of times though, people are looking for like the quick fix and the quick win. I'm like, consistency, there's nothing like it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing like it.
yeah. You just got to do it. You just got to do it.
Yes.
Just as you put one foot in front of the other, you just got to do it.
Yes.
So, what advice then? So, you had nurses in your family
Hmm.
and all that. What advice would you give somebody who wants to be a nurse?
Mm, be curious. Because there's so many things. I think so. I shared how my first nursing experience was pretty much horrendous. And so, but instead of just taking it as that and like running with it, I realized that that was a good foundation for me anyway, because I became fearless as a nurse.
Hmm.
I then explored so many nursing opportunities. I did home care, both in the office and in the field. I did home infusion. When my home care patients, like when there's stuff like, nurses don't really want to touch it, I go. Because guess what? I worked somewhere really hard and nothing scares me. Nothing scares me. And so, like, and a lot of times too, because everybody's so focused on, hospital nurse training, all that, then you might share that you want to do something different with like coworkers, and they're like, maybe you shouldn't, like,
Yeah, I that.
yes,
Oh my
yes.
gosh.
And instead of letting that, stifle you, be curious.
Mhm.
Go. What's the worst that can happen? You hate it, you come back. Okay. Hospital's always looking for nurses. You're never going to be out of a job. You'll be good.
That attitude, that little thing you just said, has
Mhm.
actually taken me very far. What's the
Mhm.
worst that could happen? And
Yeah.
once you determine what's the worst that could happen, you say, well, this or that. Okay, give it a
Yep.
shot.
That's it.
Nine times out of 10, the worst does not happen.
Yep. And then what? Now you have an experience. Now you have
Now
something
you
to
have
share
an
with other nurses.
experience.
Like, hey, because when everybody else does hospital nursing, then you have nobody to talk to about what to do outside of the
Not,
hospital.
not so
So,
often.
like, you get to be that person.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I have one last question, Prisca. We're talking a lot about burnout and nursing leaving and self-care and all that. What do you
Mhm.
do for self-care? What do you do to care for you?
I exercise regularly. I actually feel like it's like imperative to my mental health because I'm like, if I don't do it, I get mad at myself. I'm like, listen, like you need to do this. So I find even if I can't do it the way I intended, let's say I was exhausted for whatever reason, I find another way. So like typically I go to the gym and I have like a
Mm.
regimen of how I like to work out. If for whatever reason I slept too late or I was exhausted, I don't feel great, I'll put on a walking workout like on YouTube, do
Mm-hmm.
something to move my body because I feel like that's when I feel more human, Like
Yes.
instead of like, I feel like crud, so I'm just gonna roll around in bed for 30 minutes. No, let's do something easy, you
Yeah.
know? So be easy on yourself. But that's what I do. And also I do try to be very intentional about how I take in food. I'm careful about that because sometimes if you see what I post on my Instagram, you would say that I'm lying because I do love to eat. I eat stuff that I'm really not supposed to sometimes. But in general, I'm really intentional about like eating well and like making sure I have veggies, try to as much as possible, like, there's all these supplements and stuff. I really am like, I want to try to do as much as possible with my diet rather
Mm-hmm.
than on those like medications and supplements as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah. And more and more I think we're becoming aware. You come from Haitian parents. One of the things I know that because I'm a Caribbean person as well, is that, they eat clean.
Yes.
Without articulating that we want to eat clean. We just eat clean.
Yes. It just is.
It just is.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's how it is. So this all of this extra stuff with supplements and medicines and a little bit foreign to us. And I pray that I never get used to that way of thinking.
Yeah. And so because of that, our society is different here.
Yeah.
What eating clean means is gonna might be different, especially you're a busy
Mhm.
nurse. Like it may mean getting a meal delivery, you
Mhm.
know? It
Yeah.
may look different again,
Yeah.
because like no path is linear,
Mhm.
but you can still be intentional about it.
Yeah.
And guess
Indeed.
what? Meal kits cost money, so you gotta plan for that.
Prisca, this has been fun, a really fun
Thank
conversation.
you.
Thank you so very, very much for it. I've enjoyed every single minute of it. Thank you.
That makes me feel good.
Ah,
It was a pleasure to be here too.
okay.